I'm Glezz. I am a classical and flamenco guitar maker. I came to Miami in 1994 when I was 23 years old, many years ago.
Hello, my name is Steven Dentoom. My goal is to build guitars that have a wide range of tonal color, so the musician playing them is free to express themselves. Beauty and sound is what inspires me. That is why I want to revive the Spanish sound of the legendary guitar builders of the turn of the 20th century and reintroduce them in the 21st century while keeping in mind the modern desires for volume and projection. Please feel free to contact me if you're interested in my work. I would love to get to know you.
I'm Glezz. I am a classical and flamenco guitar maker. I came to Miami in 1994 when I was 23 years old, many years ago.
This is Ed Claxton. We're here in my guitar shop in Santa Cruz, and Larry here is filming me and asking some questions.
About how many guitars do you think you've made over your lifetime?
I've made probably a little over 200, and I haven't. There's a few in the past, like I never used to number my classical guitars, and they were just named, but I didn't assign, so those kind of dropped out of the thing. These are, the serial numbers on these are like the early 190s. So I'm not the most prolific builder, but I'm the slowest now. I do a lot of things that are labor intensive, and all my purflings and bindings and all these laminated strips and rosettes, I make everything here in-house. I don't order pre-made purflings, which are easily available. I make everything. I make my own fingerboards. I cut the slots myself. I don't have a CNC machine, nor do I want one.
CNC is,
CNC machine.
what does that stand for?
It's one of those machines that's hooked up to a computer and it's got big routers on it, and it'll make your finger.
Oh, numerical control.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. And I like to think that I make a traditional acoustic guitar, and you know, there's kind of one tradition. That's the great guitar factories from the 20s and 30s, and that's sort of when people think of a traditional guitar. That's what they think of. But the way I look at tradition, it goes back, you know, a couple millennium, you know, and I construct my guitars more in a traditional manner, you know. I use traditional glues. I use a lot of hide glue for the critical tone producing areas where the top and back are joined together, and the top bracing, and particularly gluing on the bridges. The hide glue just sets up rock hard. It's a great tone transducer. Certain glues like this, which I still use for the bindings, is, you know, kind of soft. It's a plastic kind of glue, and it's just not the same stuff. So I found that, you know, using traditional methods, you know, there's no guitar finish that's better than French polish, of some type of French polish, whether it's lacquer or water-based varnishes or lacquers, catalyzed urethanes, you know, like a lot of the factories use. But I try to do everything that, you know, first and foremost, they are musical instruments. And no matter how pretty they are and how awesome the wood is, you know, if they don't, you know, they gotta sound good, folks, you know, or it's, you know, what's the point? About the guitars I'm working on, and, you know, and it just happens that today I'm binding this new guitar, and I have already got one strip of binding on. The next step is to miter. All the purflings intersect at a 45-degree miter. So that's what I'll be doing next. So I'll just slip this one down, just do a quick little miter here. You can, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but one way to get a perfect 45-degree join is try to get this around. Maybe you can see that angle reflected in the chisel. So when you're plumb and you get that just right, it's perfect 45. Just check it, make sure it's. When you're doing this end, if you you know, make a mistake or it's, you know, wrong, you can keep going until it's just perfect. But when you get to this end, you can kind of have one chance. It either fits or it doesn't. So this is the easy end. More little trim. Yeah, so there you go. That's pretty good. Now move this up a little. Tape it in place so I can move on to the do the same thing with the binding. Just take this on to get approximately where it's going to be cut.
Well, Ed, let's take a tour of the workshop.
Okay. It's basically, when I rented this space, it's about 1,000 square feet on the floor, and I built this room, and that's my climate-controlled assembly room, and where the guitars stay until they're completed. I have a number of woodworking machines. They're all pretty non-specific to guitar making. They're just general woodworking machinery, and big thickness sander,
Yeah,
joiners, table saws.
let's go take a little walk around here.
Yeah. You know, this sander's for working on nuts and saddles, and another little mini thickness sander. I put nut blanks through there, and it gets them right to right thickness. You use small pieces of wood, it'll bring down pretty accurately. And this is a thickness sander. It's got big drums and a big belt. This is actually a handmade one. This guy up in Seattle used to make them and sell them. And it's
Do you
it's
put
real
your,
basic, and
you put your tops on there?
yeah, all the tops and backs and bracing and everything. This I do the more rough work on. I have this other Performax machine. That's a drum sander. And that does, when I'm making my purfling strips, like I'll cut say a bunch of holly veneers off a board, and then you want to thickness those as precisionally as possible. Mm-hmm. And that machine is a hard surface, and you can go down to 10 thousandths or less thickness, and they're perfectly uniform. And, so when you laminate them up, the purflings are all the same width, and they fit the purfling channel perfectly.
What's that machine next to the bicycle?
That's a bicycle. That's a ladder. A fold-up ladder? Is that the...
No, the thing on the black legs.
Oh, that's the thickness sander.
Oh,
the other
okay.
sander. It's got some drums in it, and a conveyor belt that pulls the wood through. This is just a wood planer. It's got cutter knives that you plane lumber down with.
So any cabinet maker would recognize all this stuff?
Every cabinet maker has the same, any woodworker has the same machinery.
Are there machines that are used for making guitars?
Yeah, there's more like jigs and fixtures. There's a kind of some standard, industry standards for side bending machines, like Charles Fox, who's an old-time luthier, and designed a side bending machine. It's probably one in every guitar maker's shop in the world, and in some factories too, for instance. And then there's another machine that holds a router vertical, and it rides up and down on a bearing, and that's what you use to cut the binding ledges on the perimeter of a guitar body. And that was designed by another guitar maker, well-known guitar maker. And you can buy plans for them, and everybody buys them, and they work perfectly. And they're very simple.
How do you
easy
cut?
to use.
How do you cut the slots for the frets?
I do it on this table saw, and I have a circular fret saw that's 23 thousandths of an inch thick. And I made a carriage that you put in these slots, and you can't really see it, it's this jig back here. You can buy these plexiglass fretting templates that are CNC machined out, and they're very accurate. And there's a registration pin that fits in here. And so basically, you have your jig there, and there'll be a pin, and the fingerboard's here. You cut a slot, bring it back, and you move it over, and you just keep moving it over, and they're very accurate. And it's so I'll do like 20 fingerboards at once by the time you set everything up, and then you got a bunch. And but you always get somebody that wants a different scale length, so then you got to come back and make one fingerboard. It's kind of a hassle, but as part of the package, you get whatever you want.
That's good.
Width, neck shape, thickness.
Well, that's great. All of us players always wonder
Yeah,
how those frets get there in the right spot.
Yeah. There's a lot of steps to doing this, and again, I don't buy pre-made fingerboards like a lot of people do. I've got my African fingerboard ebony is just the best you can get. It's all perfectly straight, quarter sawn black wood that I cut from small log billets of wood, and season them over 5 years. So just to get one fingerboard, there's like 8 steps to season them, and then it takes a number of years. And then they have to be resawn and then stickered and everything. And then by the time you get around to making the fingerboards, you've already got a bunch of time just nurturing this stack of wood. And if the wood is perfect wood, straight and quarter sawn, then it's worth doing that. Whereas if you buy off-the-shelf parts made in China, or God, I don't know where people get them, but they get them. You're probably not getting as good a material as So.
Well, you certainly do it as you talked about before, the classical way.
Yeah, because I like to control every aspect of it. The only thing I don't make are my bridge pins and the tuners and the strings, I guess. Everything else is made in-house.
Well, that's great. Thanks a lot, Ed.
This is Miami, one of the most cosmopolitan and beautiful city of South Florida. I belong to this place. I'm Glezz. I am a classical and flamenco guitar maker. I came to Miami in 1994 when I was 23 years old. I left my country because the situation that we have over there, which is still having the same situation. We're talking about Cuba. Everybody knows what's going on. Communism, and that was the reason. I became a professional guitar maker in 2017. Getting close to the guitar number 9, I make one of the best decisions that I ever made before regarding my career as a professional guitar maker. I told my wife, I want to become a professional. And then she told me, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to go to Spain. And then she said, well, let's do it. The idea was already in my mind. I said, well, I have to find someone to teach me how to build a traditional Spanish classical guitar, because that's all that I was expecting. I mean, that's all that I was waiting for. And I find someone. I find the maestro Pablo Requena, and I call him. I explain everything to him, what I want, what I need for guitar making, and we start talking on the phone, like an hour or something like that. And then he said, well, let's just plan when you can come over. And I went to Malaga. Basically, the course took the whole month, and the experience acquired with the maestro Pablo Requena was worth it. So I came back to Miami with a new vision and the expertise to make high-end classical guitars. After all, once I start working with my guitars, the quality of the instrument need to be revised. I need someone to tell me exactly how my guitar was behaving regarding the sound, the timbre, the voice, and I didn't have the capacity to do it. So I'm so glad that I met a maestro Rafael Padron, which has been also in a certain way my teacher, because he had been telling me how to get the most important part of the guitar. It's not just the way that the guitar looks like. I'm talking about the sound. He had been telling me I needed the guitar sound like this. The sustain of the note has to be longer. You need to work on this, you need to work on that. So in a certain way, he's also my teacher. Every guitar is unique. That's why when I start searching for material, I put my soul, my heart, and my mind into the wood. Because the idea is to create the perfect combination of components so they can produce music. because South Florida weather is too humid. Something really important that I am always taking care of it is keeping the humidity under control. That's the only way that I can keep my instrument safe to avoid any kind of damage because the type of weather. The wood selection process is very rigorous. The need of high-end quality material is very important for me. That is a 50% on quality itself for the final result of the instrument. Most of my inventory is between 25 and 30 years of age. I'm very meticulous working either inside or outside the guitar. To me, the guitar is something very beautiful, and when I have one of them in front of me, first things that I do is just go straight to the details. Finally, the process of closing the guitar is near. And I'm just waiting for one of the most exciting moments of the creation. Using the string to attach the back to the rest of the body of the guitar is very traditional and convenient to me. So after a long processing or varnishing, the guitar is already done. I'm just waiting to make a little sediment on it and put the string on and start playing it.
Hello, my name is Steven and Toom, and in this video I would like to invite you to my workshop, where I will show you some of my work as a classical guitar builder. Enjoy the show! So the goal for me is to produce a guitar with a warm, rich, colorful sound, the Spanish sound. And I do that with my construction methods, with mixing tradition and modern elements. So at this point you might be wondering, how old is this guy and what's his story? And that's a good question. So I'm 23 years old and I started to build guitars when I was 15. First at home, just playing around, fiddling around with woods and my own guitars that I had been playing for years. And then when I was 16 I moved out to Belgium and started my classical guitar journey. That's where I did a 3-year extensive course in classical guitar building. Exclusively classical guitar building. That's where I learned about tone woods and about working with hand tools in traditional ways. And also how to restore instruments and many great old methods and techniques that I learned there. And then I finished when I was 19 as the youngest student ever in that school, which was fun. And then I moved to Germany, where some of my family had already moved, to open my own workshop. So in the last few years I have attended many guitar festivals, concerts and events, and also guitar building challenges. And I'm very happy to say that I've won 3 times the first prize, which is a great honor and a privilege. So at this point I spend my time in my workshop producing all these unique instruments, and they go all around the world. So I sold guitars in Switzerland, in Austria, Germany, Netherlands, Latvia, and now also in Asia. So you might have noticed that aesthetically my guitars are a bit different than what you would say is the normal standard. But that's also what I like. I mean, I also build guitars that are more normal looking, but I also build unique guitars like these. So this is a guitar with a spruce front and back and sides in flamed maple. So this is really a classic design, a classic traditional design, and a Spanish name for Blanca guitar. And you know, this is also very different looking than, for instance, one of the more elaborate designs that I have built. And I like to build both. They have aesthetically a different purpose and goal, and that's what I like. All my guitars are varnished with traditional French polish. So in the future, if there's ever an issue, we can always redo tiny bits. It creates a very secure and safe varnish, but still thin enough so the guitar can vibrate freely and resonate. Also, my goal is to create a guitar that is very comfortable to play, but still has enough room so you can really get some good power out of it and get some good use. I spent a lot of time on detail and marquetry work as well, as you can see on this particular model. I mean, this is a lot, but I can also do less. But I try to spend time on the guitar and make it look as a piece of art. Not just a guitar, but that's actually a piece of art. So my guitars are a mixture of tradition and some newer elements. For instance, the headstock is a bit more tilted than traditional models. The tops have a bit of a different construction, but still single top and many traditional elements. And I use the Spanish method of assembly, meaning in the Solera guitar building system. So I don't build copies, I build original models. At this point I have 2, a smaller one and a larger one, both available with 65 scale length or more. And they're both inspired by, you know, the great Spanish traditional builders like Vicente Arias, Antonio de Torres, Francisco Simplicio, and so on. So those were my main influences in my guitar builds. Alright, so let's imagine that you would like to order a guitar from me. Then we have several options. The simplest option for you would be to just ask me to build your guitar to a specific measurement, and then I will build you one. But the other option is also a very nice option, and I think for both of us the most rewarding, and that would be for you to come here or through a Zoom call, for instance, and select the woods and materials together. For instance, we could select a top. I mean, these two examples are European spruce or German spruce, but I'm looking at building cedar as well. So we could select one of those, and it would be in a way that we would look at it, and I will tell you how old it is and the growth rings, and we would listen to how it sounds. Then that would be something like this. So we would go with the ear and then listen to how that sounds. And then if you look at the other top, it will sound a bit different. And it all depends on what your wishes are for the guitar, and then together we can select those. And that's just for the top. And for the way how I build my guitars, that's the most fundamental part of the guitar. That's where most of the sound comes from. And then for character building, or let's say additional tonal color, we can add different back and sides woods. So for instance, the piece I have here, just as an example, this is Indian rosewood, quite a dark set, very nice I think, and that will have a certain way of sound, probably a bit more powerful because it's quite harsh and heavy. And then we also have a different kind of set, like this Cocobolo here, which is also a good option, I think, in my opinion. It looks a bit different, and also sound characteristic, it will be a bit different. Like I said earlier, it all depends on what your wishes are for the instrument. And then also how you want it to look. If I put it in the light, there you see beautiful orange and reds. Or if you want something completely different, we could select a nice set of flamed maple. There you go. So many options to choose from, and even between the same type of wood there are different options we could take. And then, for instance, for the fingerboard, we could go with a nice traditional ebony fingerboard, which is, you know, a good hard wood to use for a fingerboard, and it has been used for a long time. Or if you're a bit more into the wild and funky stuff, you could go for Madagascar rosewood. I've used this before as well. It has a beautiful tone, and it's also considered a tone wood. Ebony is not considered a tone wood, and I can show you the examples here. If we go with the mic. So that's a very long sustaining note. But then if we take ebony, it's sort of, well, not dead, but it's going there. So you see there are many differences, each piece of wood. And of course the neck, if it's a Spanish guitar, it's probably going to be a cedar neck, but even there you can change to different species like maple or mahogany even. Yeah, so there you go. So this is the way we could select woods together, and for me it's a beautiful way to collaborate, because I really see it as a collaboration. It's not me just building a guitar for you, it's us creating this guitar together, because for me one of the most fundamental things is getting to know you as the player, to personally as well, so I get to know how you act, what you expect from life and from your instrument, and that helps me in some way to develop your instrument and to put your character in the guitar. So if we were to do a collaboration, we could also discuss the decoration on your guitar. So this is a design that I created myself, but if you like elements of it or you want something completely different, we can also discuss and elaborate on that. I can make drawings and we can design it together as a collaboration. So I also restore guitars, so if you have problems with your guitar, either fret buzzing, playability issues, or a crack, or whatever, please feel free to contact me and show me, and then we can discuss what might be a solution. Thanks for watching, and we hope to talk to you soon.